And we are back. Appreciate y'all for being here. Love y'all to pieces. Tapping in on the Doing All Right podcast. Another lovely day here at the Crown Global Media headquarters. I'm on the Iron Throne. You're on your side of the mothership. We in here kicking it. We love y'all here kicking it with us. Right now, we're taking questions for Friday's show, okay? So if y'all want to drop them in this comment section, drop it to us on social medias. We'll be looking out for those all day. Look out for that post that I'll be tweeting later, just prepping y'all for that. Hey, don't forget about our merch and all this kind of stuff. Let's
Can I do something real quick?
Hell yeah, bro.
Could you put your golden phone up on the table? How about I open this thing up with an injury report update?
What you got for us, Mr. Broaddus?
How about this one? Everybody that practiced yesterday that was like a questionable, whether it was Lamb, Booker, those guys, Turpin, everybody that practiced yesterday, the intent is to practice them again today with the intent of all those guys playing on Sunday.
That's a fantastic sign, Brian.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic.
So every one of those, yesterday was a day where you had guys that were limited. You didn't have any DNPs. Mm-hmm. But everybody who practiced yesterday practiced with the intent of playing Sunday against the Commanders.
That's going to be humongous. We're going to talk about the Washington Football Wizards defense today.
Sure.
Having Booker back, now you get to walk into this evaluation a little bit different, bro.
Right.
When we've been talking about this the last few weeks, it's been more so, hey, get ready for the, backup interior guys dealing with those guards and all that. But I remember you saying in our Giants evaluation that you felt good about that matchup because we got powerful guards. Booker being back is going to be massive versus Washington, Brian.
Absolutely. That's one of these things when you look at inside and how the Commanders play their front. Dallas last week, there was some struggle with those inside guys. I mean, Voch pointed that out to you in the breakdowns that we did. He said, hey, there's going to be some issues here. But now with, like I say, with Booker, with Lamb, with Turpin, those guys are all trending in playing this week in a game that's very, very important to you.
Now, Bryan Broaddus now, the top of the roster, top of the injury report guys, that's cool. Good to have them back. Man, Jonathan Mingo on there, man.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't use the word slow playing. That's a word that we use here.
Yeah, they didn't like my slow play comment.
They don't like that. But we say it here.
Right.
They still doing that with Mingo? Is he?
I don't think so. Okay. I think the intent is to get Mingo on some way. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll see. Now, maybe they have to go another, but it's kind of trending like that they might dress all these wide receivers.
6 of them.
Yeah, they might, and use every single one of them some way, somehow. So it seems like a large number, but it might get down. Right now, that's kind of the way it's going. We'll see what happens here the next couple of days. If, in fact, that there's some other positions that they might have to be able to say, okay, wait a minute, we need more of this or more of that. But it's trending to the point of all these guys right now being able to dress.
Do you think that'll result in less guys being active on defense, Brian? Like maybe because there's a large number of guys playing defense, and Shotty always comes out and say, we went short here,
right? Whether
it be running back, we went short at wide receiver because we need bodies on defense. Shotty always says that, Brian. So do you think that this will be a result of we got offensive linemen coming back, wide receivers coming back, running back will probably be what it is. Do you think that this is an opportunity to maybe cut some fat a little bit, Brian?
Well, go short. Yeah, I think there is. I mean, when you're talking about cutting fat, are you talking about just completely removing off the team?
That's like lipo. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
I'm just talking about just sitting
somebody down. Yeah, I thought you were going to go into that mode of okay, I've got 2 or 3 guys in mind I'm interested in moving on. I know you do. That's why I wanted. Yeah, that's why I want to make sure I wanted to ask that question. Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to get into this point of their roster, and when they look at their game day, and they're going to say, okay, we can go a little lighter here, depending on what you have to deal with. You're dealing with a lot of 11 personnel stuff with the Commanders. Maybe there's a position we can go a little bit lighter on maybe on the edge. Maybe you go think about one less defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have to have all these corners, but yeah, it is roster gymnastics the next couple of days, especially with all these guys coming back. But I do not think that they want to sit some of these wide receivers. They have roles for all of them, though. I mean, we've all kind of talked about with the Turpin role and really, the Tolbert role, and really what does he bring to you on a weekly basis. They are much more positive about Tolbert than a lot of us in the media are.
Asking about who? What'd you say? Ask Brian about who that? Brian.
Yes.
Kalen Carson.
Yeah.
If we going light on defense,
right.
Kalen Carson never got taken off the report.
Right.
So his window open is looking like he's getting in there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of moving parts, man. So how are we going to incorporate Carson? Who do we take out of the equation? Kaiir Elam played 8 snaps last week.
Right.
And on one of them snaps, he had a costly-ass penalty on one of them snaps.
Right.
Do you think Kaiir Elam is fully removed to get Carson on? You think Elam stays where he's at and he's just gonna we're just gonna add Carson to the party somehow, Brian? Like what we gonna do?
That's a really good question.
Damn straight.
Yeah, because
they asked this. I didn't.
No. The golden phone always comes. Yeah, that always comes through the golden phone. I think we're in a mode right now where you're looking at this. You're looking at Elam playing less and less and less snaps. Mm-hmm. The problem with this, though, is now you're in a situation with you're trying this ramp up period with Carson. You know what Carson is from last year, and it wasn't very good. But is it better? Do you have a better feeling of Carson going out there and playing right now as opposed to Elam, who has been picked on throughout these through the first 6 games of the season? You know, you look at the completion percentage, the number of times they've gone after him, and he's been less and less and less. This could be a situation where they absolutely exchange something out in that way because, like I say, his level of play has not been where it needed to be, but also the fact that they're using him less and less. But I think the thing that they're probably worried about is, if Carson in fact had shown that he is a guy that can handle this, it'd probably be a pretty easy transition for him. But there's a lot of unknown about him still. Even though that Elam is playing at not at a very good level for you right now.
Man, Bryan Broaddus watching these Washington football Wizards, man. Just watching them on film. I feel like they do interesting things based on the matchups that they run into, Brian.
Yeah.
I feel like Chicago didn't want nothing to do with the inside runs.
Not at all.
Because, Payne in there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want to be running Payne and Ken Law. Mm-hmm. I feel like early in the season, people was running right up the middle at them, though. Like,
right.
Maybe it just depends on who your guards are.
Right.
Man, them dudes, boy, Bryan Broaddus, Dak deals with pressure very well. I wonder if they look at things a little differently with the idea that Dak handles pressure very well.
Right.
They get a ton of pressure, Brian.
They do.
They affect the quarterback a ton. I don't know if that's going to benefit them in that way. They get more pressure than I would say that they're a blitzing team. Like, they can get pressure with their guys, but they'll blitz some guys also.
Right.
They're going to definitely blitz some guys also, Brian. But Dak handles that really well.
He does.
I think as a byproduct of them bringing more than 4 guys, they end up in man a lot.
Right.
But I think by default, they're just a man running team anyway.
They are. You're absolutely right about that.
Joe Witt's over there.
Sure.
Quinn's probably calling the shots, but it's Joe Witt's defense.
Right.
Dak has a real good feel for how to handle that.
Yeah.
Watching those guys on film, they do some of the same stuff that they was doing here in Dallas over there in Washington. They run a ton of nickel. Mm-hmm. Brian, they'll even take Sanders still off and run some big nickel, Brian.
Yep.
They'll do that as well. Oh boy, Dak can't wait to see that. I think the number was like right around the 50% that they run nickel. Mm-hmm. We were talking pre-show that they run dime. I believe that number is like what they getting the third down or something.
That's a late down thing for them. Yep.
36% of the time.
Right.
Your Cowboys offensive line, I think this is going to come down to we're going to run the football. Mm-hmm. I don't think nothing's stopping you from running up the middle because you got your guards back now.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be able to block them up in the passing game department. Now, Brian, we're going to have to keep eyes on Dorrance. We're going to revisit this tomorrow.
Right.
Dorrance Armstrong got a hamstring.
Right.
Hamstrings normally take a little bit. We don't know what that looks like. Yeah. But I'd be damn, Brian. Dorrance Armstrong is there. Micah Parsons, and he kicking ass. Bryan Broaddus, he over there getting pressure. He getting run stuff. Micah didn't get run stuff. Dorrance getting run stuff. Dorrance getting sacks. I was surprised about how Dorrance gets down, Brian. But whether he's playing or not, I feel good about Dorrance. Dorrance ain't TJ Watt. I feel good about playing him. This Cowboys offensive line has seen some adversity that I think is higher than Dorrance. But I feel like, Brian, if you could block these guys up front in the passing department, you could take advantage of their corners.
Right.
Marshawn Lattimore is a name, but he's an old dude.
He is.
Sanders still been getting beat up on.
He has been.
CeeDee Lamb comes back and he could play a whole bunch in the slide.
There you go.
What you think of this Washington Football Wizard defense? And I'll just break down some more later. What you think?
Yeah, no, I think you got us off to a good start on this one, though. Okay, this is what a couple different things you're going to have to worry about for this Commanders. Voch was talking about the pass rush. This team is very set in its ways of trying to just get home with 4, and they have success doing it, though. They rarely do they blitz. When they do blitz, it's like a Frankie Louvu, or it might be a slot blitz. We've seen kind of Dan Quinn operate that way before with the Cowboys. He tries to get home with 4. He doesn't want to bring the 5th guy if he doesn't have to, but we'll see it occasionally there. This team is one of the best in the league when it comes to generating unblocked rushers. And what I mean by that is like guys that aren't accounted for. I think there was 24 of them this season where they've had unblocked rushers. Okay, here's the good thing for your Cowboy fans. Dak Prescott this year, 10 of 16 against unblocked rushers. So that means, again, offensive line backs don't account. Rushers through on Dak making a throw, 10 of 16 for a little over 100 yards doing that this year. So that's a very, very, very positive thing right there, because Washington does a good job of you don't think they're going to blitz, and then all of a sudden here comes that rusher, but they're going to try and get home with 4. That's their big thing. And you mentioned Dorrance Armstrong, and there's been a little bit of a resuscitate of a career if you want to look at Von Miller too. I went back and looked at all the sacks that they've had this year, and there's always kind of been this common thread. We've seen Dan Quinn do this in the past. A lot of guys standing up around the line of scrimmage. Maybe one guy hand down, everybody else kind of standing up. I mentioned Frankie Louvu. Von Miller, these guys have found ways, and you're gonna get Dorrance going from both sides. He can play right, left. He could play on the right side, the left side. But you're going to kind of see him play, be that move around guy if Dan Quinn kind of hunting for a pass rush. And so, but also be aware of those guys standing up. They like to run the twist games and things out of that. They do a really good job of kind of we always talk about gap exchange for the offensive line. Well, they do a really good job with their picks and their loopers and things like that. So this is something that Dallas is going to have to be well aware of when they play this game. You mentioned you mentioned all the man coverage they play. When you look at them, also they play sides. The cornerbacks play sides. They don't switch. We've seen last week we had a boundary corner in J.C. Horn where he was always to the side, into the boundary or the sideline. This week, though, you're dealing with a couple of corners. When you look at Trey Amos, he is going to play on the left side, and then on the other side, Marshawn Lattimore is going to play on the right side. And then Sanders still is going to play as the nickel. He's the guy that teams have kind of gone after a little bit in this game. You mentioned about Lattimore. Teams have gone after him. Amos seems to me the one that's the best of the 3.
I didn't see a lot of targets at him.
No, he's very, very good at playing the ball. I mean, when you start to talk about the pass defense, if you're a Cowboy fan, you've yet to see your defensive backs defend anything when it comes to a pass defense. This is a crew that has in the range 4 or 5 per guy. So they're getting their hands on footballs, but a lot of man coverage from this group. And it appears to me that where you want to really try to go after is Sanders still at the nickel spot. And then you can maybe go after Lattimore, and then it turns into Amos. But I think they're all a pretty good crew of players right there. But like I say, a lot of man coverage, a lot of unblocked rushers. That's something they create. That's Dan Quinn. You talk about generating pressure. Unblocked rushers are a byproduct of creating pressure, manufacturing pressure that way. So it's a good defense to a point when it comes to the pressure where they struggle badly. They struggle with missed tackles. They're first in the league when it comes to missed tackles. Or, excuse me, in the top 3 of the league when it comes to the missed tackles. They've had a big problem with that. They've also had problems when people have run the ball on the edges on them.
Yeah.
That has been a big issue.
The Bears did it a lot.
Yeah, they're giving up right at 4.8 yards per carry when the ball is run to the edge. That is the worst in the National Football League right now. So, you've got to be very mindful if you're the Cowboys. Where do you want to run the football? How do you want to attack? Teams have had really nice success rate, like over 40% success rate of running the ball on the edges against these guys. So it's not going to be about running inside again. It's going to be about how can you get the ball to the outside. Maybe this is a game where all of a sudden we've been kind of waiting for Jadon Blue. Yeah. Maybe this is a game where all of a sudden you get everything blocked up. Now you have Tyler Booker back.
Pinning and pulling,
getting stuff because you mentioned that the Bears teams have had success. You can watch teams run the ball on the edge against this crew and have success. So Dallas needs to get back in that for their balance as well.
Bryan, with this group of corners, Washington has found themselves in a lot of shootouts this year.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels does his best to keep up with it, but it does happen. How do you think the Cowboys are going to get Lamb involved? Do you think it's going to be like a pitch count type situation, or do you think he's going to be flat out good to go? Because Pickens has shown you, Pickens and Flo have shown you that they can hold down the fort while you're gone. Mm-hmm. So with Turpin, those foot injuries kind of weird there. Lamb, it's a ankle sprain, could be kind of weird. Do you think that they're going to slow play those guys back, or are they just going to throw them in the water?
I think they're throwing them in and let them go. I mean, Shoddy talks about it in the press conferences, so that we have to be mindful and all that. But CeeDee Lamb's played with a busted shoulder before. He's not going to come out of games. So if he's dressed and ready to go, Shoddy had the great line yesterday. How do you know? How do you know if he's ready? If he's breathing. That's pretty much sums up CeeDee Lamb, the type of player he is. He's going to go out there. He's going to play hurt. He's going to fight through things. It'll be nice to see him come back from the ankle injury. I just feel like that Dallas is going to need to make some explosive plays in this football game. They're going to need to hit on some, especially with the way the Commanders play offense, this could very well turn into a shootout game where all of a sudden, if you blink first and punt, then you're in a bad situation. Field goals, any kind of points, field goals, touchdowns are going to be an absolute must. So CeeDee Lamb, Turpin, those guys, I feel like that they're going to be ready to go right off the jump.
Yeah, Brian, until I see the Cowboys defense go out there and stop anybody, I'm just going to assume that it's going to be high scoring shootout type game all around. So I'm not too much banking on the idea of it. I will say this though, Brian. If I says this, just watching them, right? Like Washington kind of gives up points early.
Yeah.
Like teams kind of get going quick on them.
Yeah.
Cowboys, I would at least say for this year, Brian, that the first drive is kind of like a feeler, and that's where their punts really come from.
Yeah.
If the Cowboys have 3 times where they just punt, right? They punt on the first drive, they punt on the first drive of the third quarter, and somewhere in the fourth is where they typically punt. Yeah. Cowboys can score every other time, right? Do you think that this would be a game where the Cowboys kind of get going early because Washington kind of looks a little weird early?
Well, here's your man. You walked me right into this one. Dallas is last in the league in first drives.
Damn.
Last. There's no other team in the league that's worse on a first drive than your Dallas Cowboys.
I feel like we've punted on all of them.
Yeah, and what's happened is you start with some runs. You've yet to really establish any. You're only 44%. The metrics say of early passing on first drive. But when you get Dallas past that first drive, the metrics completely change. All the numbers go up. First drive problems have been an issue for this football team this year. You can't be any worse than 32, and that's where they sit right now. So, yeah, if there's somehow, some way that Shoddy's first 15, we saw in Philadelphia where there was some early success, but this might be a game too where Dallas can be in one of those binds where if you have the opportunity, if somehow you get the option, if the Commanders say, okay, you get in the situation where you're taking the ball, you can't afford 3 and outs now. I mean, you mentioned that. There's always seems like that first drive, a punt, and then there seems like another one or maybe two in the second half, and those very well could be the difference in a game like this.
Yeah, Brian. Big points all over the place. It's funny. Last week, you were talking about the Panthers game. Is that you felt like this was going to be more about defense? You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like going to be a defensive game. You never going to say that again for the rest of the season until the Cowboys prove you differently, right? Like this going to be some defensive, slug it out win at the end with some type of 13-10 score. Like we're prepping ourselves for like shootouts the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that. Number one is Dallas is in a situation where I think Brian Schottenheimer, and this is where I always get on coaching staffs about this, whether it's college, pro. I always get on staffs about the head coach not knowing the condition of his team. And I think there's a couple of things that can happen here. If Dallas gets into one of those modes where all of a sudden they score, Washington scores, they score, Washington scores, and then it turns into that it's got that feel of we can't punt, then Brian Schottenheimer needs to channel his inner Dan Campbell and think about, okay, we visited about this yesterday, the 4th and 5s, the 4th and 4s. You almost have to play the game in a different light because you're not going to be able to get a stop. They got one stop last week, and it ended up they could have won the game with the one stop. Dallas would have scored. Hopefully they would have scored and not left any time, but Dallas didn't score. Carolina ran the clock out, and they ended the game on you right there. Dallas got the one stop. Their offense couldn't cash in, and then they couldn't make another stop. So how the condition of your team? Are you getting stops? Or all of a sudden is Jayden Daniels not playing at a high level? Is he missing passes? Or is he running himself into sacks? Is Dallas playing run defense well? Yeah. All of a sudden, if the game turns into where you've got a couple of stops in the first half and you're looking good, well, then maybe you play the game differently. But all of a sudden, if this turns into every possession turns into points for both teams, you've got to think about, I can't punt. I can't afford to punt. And if the media asks you, well, why did you keep going for it on 4th down? The question you'd ask and give them is like, did you see my defense? Did you see my defense? And I think everybody would understand when Brian Schottenheimer utters the words, did you see my defense? Everybody will get right off his back on that one. So, yeah, this is going to be one of those types of games, I think.
Now, Brian, you can't just go out and say that. Did you see my Of course we saw it. But
oh no, you could absolutely say that. You could say it this way too. Yeah. Did you see Terry McLaurin today?
Hey man.
Did you see Jayden Daniels today? Did you see Krosky Merritt? Did you see those guys? That's how you answer those questions.
Did you see the backup running back go crazy?
Oh, yeah. That is a very I never fault a coach for being honest about his team. If you get into a situation where it's going to, and we're accustomed to this. We're accustomed to the shootout game. We are. I mean, as a fan base, we know that putting your defense out there, there's a good chance. Listen to this, Voch. This was another number that I just came across. Mm-hmm. Dallas playing man coverage, averaging 11 yards a pass, playing man coverage.
Yeah,
11 yards a play, playing man coverage. But they're going to have to play man coverage.
You said this week earlier, Brian, that they were working on some things. They were. I was some man coverage.
Yeah, I was hearing some whispers.
Man, Brian, what that even mean, man?
Oh, I know. What the whispers were that they were working on man coverage and didn't use that as part of the Carolina game plan. But the Carolina game plan, what Carolina game plan should have been was put 8 in the box, put 9 in the box, and try and stop the run and play man across the board because Carolina wasn't going to be interested in throwing the football. But you're talking about a team. The next 3 weeks, you're playing one of the better running teams in the league. Denver's one of the better running teams, top 10, and then Arizona is one of the top 10. So you better in the next several weeks figure out that hey, playing guys in the box, stopping the run it's got to be item one. It's got to be item one, and that means you're going to probably have to play a lot of man coverage. And but you're giving up 11 yards a play playing man coverage. There's no clear answer here, but you've got to try something in order to maybe get your team out of this hole they're playing in defensively.
Bryan, do you know what cuffing season is?
I think it has to do with like finding somebody to be with. Is that close? Is it?
You're right there. It's like the opposite of hot girl summer. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
The hot girls, what they do when it get hot outside, they get their last little bit of gym time. They get in shape and they stay outside.
Right.
They go out and they party with their guns and they hit the streets with they short dress and all that, and they go be out there.
Right.
Cuffing season when it get cold outside.
Yeah.
They ain't trying to be all outside like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
you got to find somebody to.
That's when they settle down and get
somebody. Right.
Kind of kick it in the house a little bit.
Right.
Man, Crown Global Media got some hoodies for y'all, boys. Just in time for cuffing season.
There you go.
While I walked outside this morning, Bryan, it's about 5 a.m, get ready to go to the box. I felt a slight chill. On the outside, boy, Bryan. But I was cool because I ran back on in the crib and I got my Crown Global Media quarter zip, half zip, and I walked right back outside and I felt just fine. Hey, I want y'all to get ready for cuffing season. We have the link in our description for some fantastic Crown Global Media merch. Y'all go over there. Get you some tumblers over there. Get you some hats over there. We got some fantastic merch over there on our merch site is down in the description. Go get it right now. Appreciate y'all. Tap in on Crown Global Media on all of our socials. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're going crazy on all of them. And we drop YouTube shorts here every day on YouTube as well. We shoot those after we're done here, so don't miss that content thinking that we just making a short form content of the same thing that we're doing. We ask totally different questions, so please make sure that y'all check those out. All right, that's Bryan Broaddus on VOCHLONBARDI. I'll be putting out a post later on social media asking for any questions that you guys might have, and we'll be answering those on Friday's edition of the Doing All Right. Y'all hold it down. Till next time, Crown.